Hey everyone, how's it going? So I want to talk about something that I got a lot of questions about after watching the season 3 premiere, and that is regarding Rick Grimes' brother and whether or not he's actually going to be here this season. So I do want to talk about the character and talk about sort of, I guess, what was said and a lot of that there and clarify a lot of stuff. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all of my Walking Dead Daryl Dixon content, because I will be posting reviews and breakdowns of everything. I actually will be doing an opening credits breakdown right after this, and then an episode 2 trailer breakdown. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about with episode 1 and episode 2. So like I was saying, Rick Grimes' brother is something that a lot of people were asking about, or at least, wondering about after last night's episode. And it makes a lot of sense, like Daryl is in Spain. And the reason why this is coming up is because in the comics, Rick Grimes does have a brother. And the argument that, a lot of people make is that, well, Rick Grimes has never mentioned his brother, but also in the comic, he never mentions his brother either. Like, it's literally never brought up. It's Lori actually that brings it up one time, and it's actually in the 3rd issue, and it's not even to Rick. I think it's like Andrea and Carol, or maybe it's a flashback or something. Like, it's literally a random thing of dialogue that really does not go anywhere, and Rick never acknowledges ever, like literally ever, that he has a brother. So it's very similar to the show, where he never really, he doesn't talk about his family too much. You've heard about his father, his grandfather. I don't think he's really talked about his mother ever. So, like, it is something that if they wanted to bring up, yes, people are going to be like, wait, that makes no sense. But once you realize that in the comics it's really the same thing, then I think it does make it a lot more okay, because it's like, well, it literally happens in the comics, and so they're just doing that storyline, right? And so in that sense, his brother could appear here. Now, to get into the backstory of his brother, basically what the story is, and I'll just kind of sum it up really fast, is that his brother went on a vacation basically to Spain. It was Barcelona, I believe, where they were going there. Can't remember exactly where he was in Spain, but he was somewhere in Spain. I think he was going to Barcelona, or he was in Barcelona. But it was really cool because it was in The Walking Dead, the Alien series, and the entire time you don't even really know that it's Rick Grimes' brother. It's just, it's somebody named Jeffrey. And so at the very end, you learn that his brother's name is Rick, and so, or I think it's Richard, but people call him Rick or whatever. And so it was like, okay, so he's Rick Grimes, right? And his brother is Jeffrey Grimes. And so that was the story there. But his brother did die, though, or apparently it was sort of hinted at that he was going to die because he was bleeding out, kind of thing. So that was basically the comic story. And so that's why he never really made it back to America or anything like that. And that was just the story there. Again, in the comics, and this is a spoiler, I guess, for the comics, so definitely, it's pretty big spoilers for the comics and the ending. So if you don't want to hear this, then definitely jump forward 30 seconds. But in the comics, Rick Grimes does die. And so it's something that, for a story, it doesn't really matter overall. It's just kind of, yeah. So for Jeffrey Grimes to actually appear here in this story, it's something that could definitely work for sure. But it's just one of those things where, I think that if it actually does happen, I don't know. I don't know how everyone would take that, to be honest, because there's a lot of excitement for it, but there's also a lot of people saying I don't know, it just makes no sense because Rick's never mentioned it, right? So if Rick mentioned it at some point, in the past, then it would make it okay, right? And you would have had to have had it in season 5 or 6 or something where Rick said something. Literally, if there was anything of dialogue, even in The Ones Who Live, to be honest, if he said something about, what it was like growing up, and he feels yeah, my little brother, he was like this or that, and if he just said something like that, then it would have made it okay, obviously, for him to appear in season 3. But I think because there's been no mention there, that it would just be really kind of out of nowhere to happen. And so his brother, I don't think, is going to be here. And as for what everyone has said about it, like Scott Gimple and everybody, I saw a lot of comments of people saying that, he was saying something like it's never going to happen, or I don't know if it was him or if it was someone else, but apparently, there was actual confirmation that no, that's not going to happen or whatever. I haven't seen that anywhere. So definitely, if there is any of that confirmation out there, let me know for sure, because I will check that out to see that, because that would be really awesome to have that confirmation. And then I'll do a video on that and be all right, so this whole theory of all of this is just done now. It is completely over, and that's it. He's not going to be appearing here. I actually just think that the character is probably just not going to appear on the show. I think at this point here, we would have heard something. And again, maybe, Scott Gimple or someone said something about it already, but I haven't heard it. And so if it actually is a thing that is confirmed and it's not going to happen, then yeah, that whole thing is completely done, right? And I just don't think it's going to happen. I really do think that the way that we can actually look at this, and I think it's the better way to look at it, honestly, is that Rick's brother is already in Spain and it's Daryl. Like, I really like that storyline. Like, Daryl's in Spain and that's Rick's brother. I think that is just like the best way to look at it, honestly. And in a sense, they're almost doing that story. Like, it would actually be really cool if we saw the character that Jeffrey Grimes was with, like in the comics. I think that would be kind of a cool introduction. Like, maybe introduce that character, but also explain that, like, Daryl is technically Rick's brother, like in that sense, right? Where, Rick said that, like, you're my brother, Daryl, right? And maybe you sort of tell a version of that story here, but it is really one of those things where that story also did happen very early on in the apocalypse, right? So I think that it is probably something that is already done at this point. Daryl is in Spain. It's Rick's brother in a way, and I like that. I do like that story there. It's something that is going to be really cool. I also saw a lot of comments of people saying that they really like the UK and stuff, like for the storyline in episode 1. And I think that that is something that would be really cool to see a lot more of, in later, I guess, spin-offs or just like whatever. I think it was just really cool to see the place like completely covered in walkers. And I also want to kind of do a video comparing The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon to Dead City, because there's a lot of like comparisons being made right now to that show and like just how much better this show is compared to Dead City. Now, I will say, like, I do think that AMC likely knows that already, because obviously they got rid of the other showrunner, right? And so I don't know the reason for that. Maybe it wasn't anything to do with AMC, but I do feel like, obviously there was probably a creative difference there or something. I don't know, like, I really don't know, but there's going to be a new showrunner. And so this season could totally change. Apparently they are filming today or something, or at some point they're supposed to be. That was the rumor anyways. And so yeah, I think it would be kind of cool to see season 3, if it does improve in a lot of ways, because this show here is just really incredible. Like, there's just a big difference between this one and Dead City. And honestly, Dead City, like, I did like a lot of it. I did actually like the story, but I'm really focusing on Maggie and Negan and, their stories. Like, I think that that is really what works in season 2. It's just the fact that they sort of ended that storyline there, and I liked a lot of that. Herschel was awesome, but like the other stuff, the world stuff, just the overall story definitely wasn't the most exciting. And so that's the stuff they got to work on. Like New Babylon at this point, I'm almost kind of over it, to be honest. Like, I don't know. The methane storyline is not the most exciting. I think they could change it and make things a lot better here, but I'm not the most excited about that. I think they got to change a lot of that up, because it's just not the greatest, to be honest. And I think it was something that they just, like, I don't think it was what they really, spent a lot of time on. They probably did, but I feel like they focused mostly on the character stories and like the personal stories, because that works really well. It's just the other stuff just feels like it's kind of there just because you need some sort of story to be there, and it's not that exciting. It doesn't connect with anything else in The Walking Dead. So I'm just not a fan of that. And I feel like that wasn't Gimple that did that. Like, Gimple has been saying lately that he wasn't the one that's really coming up with the stories here. He's just more letting them do their thing, and he's just making sure that they don't really mess up with any of the Walking Dead, like, story or this and that, but, like, they can kind of do whatever, right? And so I think it really was just that. I think that's why Dead City suffered a lot in the first 2 seasons. And so it's going to get a season 3, and most likely a season 4 is the rumor. They're supposed to be filming back to back, and so we'll see if they ever confirm that or what's happening. I don't know if things are going to change or whatever, but we'll have to wait and see, obviously, with that. I think that the story here that Seth Hoffman is going to come up with for Dead City is probably, I'm guessing, going to be a lot better for sure. There will be an improvement. It's just, in what way will it be improved? Like, he did work on The Walking Dead way back in the day, like season 4, 5, and 6, or somewhere around there anyways. And so Dead City could honestly, be a lot better and could learn a lot from The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. I think at this point, there's really nowhere for them to go but, I guess improving, because I just think, I don't know, I do think that if they had a lot more references and stuff and they connected the worlds overall, the story is going to be really exciting. So I think that's probably what they're doing, because they probably saw a lot of the criticisms for season 2 and they're just like, all right, like, we got to make the story a lot better. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go. And I can't wait to see, what they learn, I guess, from how people are, I guess, viewing The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3, right? And so, because honestly, like, they learned their lesson with season 3 so far. We're only 1 episode in. We'll see what the rest of the season is, but a lot of the reviews are saying this season's absolutely incredible. One of the best seasons of anything that we've watched in a while with The Walking Dead. So Based off the first episode, that makes a lot of sense, but we'll have to wait and see, obviously, until we actually watch it. It's a good sign, though, obviously, right? Because season 2 just wasn't the best, and so, yeah, I'm excited for that. So I'm gonna leave it here, though, so definitely post all your thoughts down below on Rick Grimes' brother. Do you think that he's gonna appear at all, or is this just sort of done now? Again, I personally believe that the storyline is likely done, and I'm not going to do a video on it really anymore unless I actually see the confirmation of what Gimple or whoever, I'm not sure who it was, but I just remember seeing a lot of comments of people saying that they actually confirmed that it's not going to happen. So I don't know that. If that is actually true, I'll do a video on it and I'll, sort of be like, all right, so that's all done now. And that's just like, yeah, all that's completely done. So anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.